Hey, it's Chris. Today, I have a non-typical AirPods Max review for you. What makes it non-typical? Well, that's easy. I'm not going to be talking about these as just headphones for music. In fact, I'm not going to be talking about them as mostly headphones that are used for music. Instead, I'm going to be talking about how I really use them in real life, which is mostly at my desk. And I think that's a bit of a paradigm shift, actually, because most reviews, as you can probably tell, are treating these like all they can do is play music. Whereas for me, these are primarily going to be desk/work headphones. And then secondarily, they're also going to be entertainment and yes, music headphones. So that means I'm mostly going to be using these while I'm working. So when I'm doing things like editing video, or making use of voice dictation, or taking and making phone calls. Now, during work hours, I'm gonna listen to some music. And when I do listen to music at work, it's primarily background music while I'm writing, for instance. So actually, I think it'd be safe to say that even during work hours, which is primarily when I'm using these headphones, I'm actually watching more YouTube videos and video content than I am listening to music. And just since I've touched on that subject, I do just have to mention, I love how when I take these off of my head, the video that I'm watching automatically pauses, and when I put it back on, it automatically resumes, whether I'm watching on the iPad or the Mac. That's just an awesome little touch. Now, speaking of work stuff, I might actually end up using these for monitoring my audio when I'm recording the Daily Tech After Party podcast, which, yes, does require this extra $35 cable to make that work. And yeah, that lets you go from lightning to headphone jack, but that's expensive, $35 for a cable that a lot of people wish was included. The unfun truth about this cable is if you're complaining about the price or if you need the functionality, these probably aren't the headphones for you in the first place. In my non-work time, I'm definitely going to be using these to watch TV, things like The Mandalorian on my iPhone or on my iPad. And yeah, sometimes on the actual TV using the Apple TV, which actually works out really great, honestly, with the instant connection to any of my iCloud devices, because obviously not everybody wants to listen to the same thing at the same time. So the quick and easy device switching is like a major bonus for these headphones. So just to recap, yes, I will be listening to music with the AirPods Max, but not just to music, not even mostly listening to music. So I think it's unfair for the world at large to just assign these one specific use case because they can do so much more and things that other headphones can't. In fact, I'm guessing that lots of people watching this are going to be like me, but not even realize it, where music is a really important, but not the primary reason for owning comfy, nice, noise-canceling headphones. So when I hear somebody approaching a review of the AirPods Max from a quote-unquote audiophile perspective, I just kind of shrug because I feel like it's sort of missing the point. I know some people are really interested in that perspective, and I'm glad that people are providing those reviews, but for me, it's just missing the bullseye. So in this review, I will mention listening to music, but I'm gonna keep it pretty brief, but I'm gonna focus most of my energy talking about the use cases and features that are gonna actually affect how I use these in the real world. And by the way, I didn't just jump the gun and publish a review the day after I got these. I've been using them for a lot longer than most people at this point. Now, I'm a video creator, so a big part of what I do is edit video, obviously, but I feel like my main task actually at my desk is to concentrate, and that is where really great noise-canceling headphones really come in handy. But as somebody who wears headphones for multiple hours at a stretch, I can't say that I've found these uncomfortable. I've found that they start out very comfy, and then over time, they remain reasonably comfortable because of this over-ear design. Because of that over-ear design, I'm not suffering from ear fatigue like I do with on-ear headphones after a couple of hours. And you know what? This headband has been doing an excellent job of keeping the top of my head in good shape even after 3 hours. All right, let's just go ahead and get that crazy case out of the way. At my desk, I just leave my AirPods Max sitting on the desk, caseless. It turns out you don't need the case to stick these headphones into that ultra low power mode. It just takes a few minutes longer if you just lay them down. So I do keep the case around just in case I'm gonna throw these in the backpack or something, but this case just isn't a very useful accessory. A very useful accessory, for example, would be something like my Paperlike, which is a screen protector for your iPad. I always put one on my iPads because, just like the name says, it makes writing on an iPad feel more like paper. It adds some real good functionality. This, on the other hand, does not add enough functionality, and I'm not even gonna talk about the looks. So actually, I guess you could say this case is really unpaper-like as an accessory, and I just decided for the most part, I'm not even gonna use it. See, when I'm at my desk, I can just charge these whenever. I got the cord laying around, it's no big deal. I really wish it wasn't a lightning cable, I can tell you that. It basically lasts me all day. You know what? Speaking of all day, something I could do all day is edit with these headphones on, especially with the noise canceling. It's such a great experience. In fact, if I could pick one word to describe the noise canceling on the AirPods Max, it would be satisfying. That perfectly describes it. And then the transparency mode, which you activate with the touch of this button, is so awesome, is magical. I can hear people so well. I feel like I can hear them better than when I don't have these on. So I love being able to just block people out with the touch of a button, have a quick important conversation, and then get right back into focus and work mode. So the word that I used to describe the noise cancellation was satisfying. But the word that I would use to describe the transparency mode is spectacular. This little magic button is almost too good to be true. It's that good. Now, I wouldn't say that I make a ton of phone calls in a typical workday. Maybe I average like 1 to 2, and that includes Zoom meetings, okay? But when I am talking to somebody, whether it's an actual phone call or it's a FaceTime meeting or whatever it is, if I'm using the AirPods Max, their voice seems to come through very clearly to me. And just if you have the noise canceling enabled, it's almost like they're more transported. They're almost more present in the room with you, if that makes sense. It's a nice effect. And on the other side, for people that I'm talking to, I have yet to have somebody complain and say, hey, are you using Bluetooth headphones or something because it's not coming through right? You know, people complain about that. If it's an issue, they complain, and I haven't had any complaints. So it's really good on that front. Something else that I've been getting really into lately is voice dictation on the Mac, on my iPhone, on the iPad. I'm really doing less and less typing these days. I've really just had a voice dictation wave sweep over my work. So, of course, I've been using the AirPods Max with my voice dictation for emails, for text messages, just for notes. And I'm really, really, really impressed with how well it's done. To be honest, when I'm wearing the AirPods Max and I'm doing voice dictation, it seems to pick up on what I'm saying and translate it a little bit better even than using the built-in mics on my MacBook Pro. And even though I touched on it earlier in the video, I just have to mention it one more time. The automatic AirPod switching with these has been awesome because throughout the day, I do switch at my desk between the iPad Pro and my iPhone and the Mac. And for these to just switch seamlessly to whatever device I'm using at any given time is really awesome. I don't have to go and dig around in any menus or even click anything. It just happens. It's great. Okay, let's talk just a little bit about music and entertainment and leisure and the things I do for fun outside of work hours. So after hours, yes, I listen to music, but I also watch some TV. I also listen to some audiobooks and some podcasts, okay? These are all things that I do with the AirPods Max. Not to mention, sometimes you just want to kind of silence the world around you and kind of escape. All right, now if you caught my original AirPods Max videos called Why Everyone's Wrong About the AirPods Max, you know that I was talking about computational audio and spatial audio being a big factor in what sets these apart from the competition. And before everyone chimes in, like they did on that video and says, the Sonys have something similar, well, they kind of do, but it's only for music, and I think that's important to keep in mind. So if I'm going to watch The Mandalorian, the Sonys with the 360 audio are not going to provide any sort of extra experience beyond just the usual experience. But the AirPods Max will pin the audio to the device that you're listening to and provide a theater-like experience. It's really bizarre. I love it. And for the people that are saying that they can't really pick up on it, maybe they don't really understand what it is, because I have to like take these off of my head with spatial audio going to make sure that I'm not playing the audio in the room that I'm in with other people, if I don't want to bother them, because the effect is so convincing, that pinning of the audio to the device, that it feels like you're listening to whatever it is you're listening to without the headphones on. And so, yeah, anything with Dolby Atmos or 5.1, 7.1 surround sound is going to work. So you have options on Disney Plus, on Hulu, on Netflix, and maybe a couple other places, Apple TV Plus, obviously. So there's a lot of content out there. And let me just address, some people are like, oh, but I wish that was on, my Apple TV, the box, and not just for the iPhone or the iPad. Look, a lot of people, I think myself included, watch TV or video movies on their mobile devices, their iPhone, their iPad, almost more than they do on their TV these days. But there's a good reason why it doesn't work on your Apple TV, though. That's because it doesn't have any gyroscopes or accelerometers, right? So it doesn't know where it is in space like your iPhone or your iPad. So that's why it doesn't work. The other thing to keep in mind, too, for the people complaining about not having it on their Apple TV is your TV already has options, good options, great options for a surround sound experience, right? You can get an actual surround sound system. So for Apple to bring something that didn't exist, faking that surround sound for the 5 channels and the 7 channels to what essentially only has 2 channels, and to make it work really good, that is pretty awesome. Okay, so music. It sounds good on the AirPods Max. In fact, it sounds really good. But the thing I want to emphasize in this review is that I would own the AirPods Max even if I never listened to music for all the stuff I've already talked about in this video, okay? But that said, they do make an excellent Andy Mineo delivery system. I'm just going to say another note about audiophiles here as well. Audiophiles are kind of like people who are really into traditional muscle cars, let's say. And then something electric comes along, like a Tesla, and when they say, well, yeah, but it doesn't do X, Y, or Z like this other old gas-powered Mustang or Camaro or Corvette or whatever it is, then yeah, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Maybe they're not the best person to do a comparison because the Tesla does things, the electric car does things that traditional muscle cars don't. They're both vehicles in the same way that, a Sony pair of headphones or Bose or Hi-Fi Man are, headphones, just like the AirPods Max, but those other types of headphones don't bring the same level of computational audio to the table. They're different. I also have to say, if we're really talking about audiophiles here, or people who self-label as audiophiles, really great audiophile headphones might range from $1,000 to $3,000 or $6,000, okay? And $550 doesn't even come close. And most people aren't going to be spending that kind of cash on headphones, plus the accessories to really get the most out of those kinds of headphones. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense for the average person to listen to an audiophile, whether they actually are an audiophile or have just self-labeled that aspirationally, because it's just not the same kind of a thing, right? If you want music to sound good, to sound great, it is going to sound great on the AirPods Max. The key word, I think, is it's going to be enjoyable. I've enjoyed so much music with the AirPods Max. When I was out recording the other day, it was a really windy day, okay? And I had the active noise canceling on, and yeah, the wind was hitting the microphones on the outside, which kind of pick up the noise so they can inject that anti-noise to give you a really nice noise canceling experience. And I got some weird, like, staticky, scratchy, sounds. Big whoop, okay? There's going to be certain situations that are beyond the boundaries of normal use where, yeah, things fall apart a little bit. But that doesn't make these bad headphones. I just want to touch on the weight one more time because I think it deserves being emphasized. I've heard people say they don't really notice these when they're on their head, but then when they move, that's when they start noticing them. That's not the case for me. I know when I put over-ear headphones on that they're going to be, there on my head, and I actually notice them for a lot of the time that I'm wearing them at my desk, unless I'm really concentrating on something that I kind of forget. But the weight just hasn't been an issue. So I want to emphasize that. For me, the weight has not been a big deal. Let's talk about the looks. When these first came out, I wasn't sure that these were my favorite headphones from a design perspective. But now that I've had them, I actually have come to really like this design, apart from this clacking that you get of these pieces here. If you're not careful, I feel like I got to be extra careful when they're turned flat like that. So a lot of times I'll just set them down like this. The thing is, I like the actual industrial design a lot. I don't like how they look on my head as much, but that has more to do with my head than the headphones, to be honest. So I really, 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 really like these controls. This digital crown here is insanely cool. I love controlling the volume with the digital crown. In fact, if I'm wearing my Apple Watch, then I can control the volume with 2 different digital crowns, but it's a great implementation. I have no complaints about the buttons. There's no power button. A lot of people are upset about that, but again, since I'm using these at my desk, it just doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I think a lot of people are going to be in the same boat. You guys can see, obviously, that I went with the silver and white version, and a lot of people are saying, stay away from that because it can get dirty. Whoa. I've been using these for a long time here, ever since the first delivery date, and I haven't had any issues keeping it clean. So kind of not sure what other people have been doing to get it so dirty. And I don't feel like I'm being particularly careful with these. I'm wearing them. I use like a clay product to style my hair. But yeah, the dirt just hasn't been an issue for me. I like this colorway. If you're going to be reasonably careful with these, I would say don't let other people discourage you from getting this color. One thing that's really interesting to point out, I think, is that I loved my AirPods Pro when they worked. They had some issues twice. I made a video about it, so you can search the channel for AirPods Pro and see what I'm talking about. But I used them constantly until I got the AirPods Max. I haven't touched the Pros at all since I've had these. Now, I might prefer the Pros in certain situations if I'm out and about because they're just a little bit less conspicuous. But when I'm at home, I haven't found any reason to not use the AirPods Max. So I work from home and I relax at home, and these have just been the perfect at-home AirPods. And I think that's worth mentioning. Haven't gone back. So in conclusion, I think we have to ask the question, am I glad that I bought these? They're really expensive, right? And the answer is yes. And to follow up with that, could I live without them? Well, obviously I did before these ever came out, but I wouldn't want to go back to not having them. I've enjoyed these so much, despite all the naysayers. To be honest, I could really care less if other people don't like the looks, or if they don't like the name, or they want to whine about the case, which is like 0.5% of the actual experience for me, or if they want to talk about things like the clamping force on your head. I just don't care about that. They're comfortable. I don't care about things like repairability. Okay, I'm not going to be taking these apart by myself. That's just ridiculous to cover that, I think, as part of the consumer review and assume most people are going to be doing that. For me, at least, these are keepers. And everybody's still wrong about the AirPods Max. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave me some comments. Give me some feedback down below. Don't forget, you can follow @DailyTech, spelled Daily Tekk, on Instagram and Twitter. And check out the after party after the new year gets started. It's going to be making a comeback. And maybe it'll have kind of a new format. We'll see. But it's going to be fun. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And make sure you're subscribed for more awesome content. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.